Good morning, children. Welcome back to the social session. Children, for the past few days, we have been learning about the landlords and tenants under the Britishers and the Nizam. We started right from the Mughal Empire, and we have seen how the Britishers entered into India and how they brought the land revenue under their control. So they have devised different types of systems in order to generate more income from the land, and that financed their wars as well as their internal trade in India. And if we have learned the different kinds of systems they have introduced, the first system was introduced in 1793 by Lord Cornwallis, and that system was called as a permanent settlement system. The permanent settlement system was introduced by, it is a method of collecting the land revenue. This is a permanent settlement system which is introduced in 1793 by Lord Cornwallis, children. He was the Governor General of British Empire in India, and he introduced this system. Because it is for permanent settlement means this settlement, whatever the Jamindar has auctioned, that remains the same throughout their lifetime. It is permanent. For that reason, the revenue of the government could not increase, could not hike. As a result of that, they faced many problems. And even Jamindars also had faced a problem because of decrease in the agricultural land owners or the agricultural cultivators. And they felt it very hard to pay the rent, and even the Jamindars also faced a very risky thing to pay the taxes to the government, and they have to leave the Jamindari. And in their place, new Jamindars were appointed by the Britishers, which has created a lot of political instability in the villages. And now later, it was during the 1800 what happened, when the Nizams were not in a position to pay the debts for the maintenance of the British contingent in the Nizam's area. They handed over 4 important districts, Bellary, Kadapa, Kurnool and Anantapur were handed over to the Britishers. So the British government has appointed one collector called as Thomas Munro, and he is the person who introduced the system called as a Raituwari system. So what is this Raituwari system? Raitu means the cultivator and Wari means tenure. That is nothing but the peasant tenure system is called as a Raituwari system. Whether this system was successful in encouraging the agricultural practices in India? No. Even this also was not successful. But the Britishers have learned that the government has to invest some money in improving the irrigational facilities in the country. For that reason, Sir Arthur Cotton, what he did was, he built an anicut across the river Godavari at Dhavaleshwaram, which we call it as the Dhavaleshwaram barrage, in the year 1849. So the Dhavaleshwaram barrage anicut was constructed in the year 1847. It was in the year 1857, across the river Krishna, the Prakasham barrage was constructed. And this is Prakasham barrage year of construction, and this is Dhavaleshwaram barrage construction year. And apart from these two, after the construction of these two, even KC canal was dug in order to provide water to the Rayalaseema region, which is facing acute poverty, or it's a kind of famine conditions, in order to overcome the famine conditions in Rayalaseema region due to the scarcity of rainfall. So they have constructed KC canal. KC canal is nothing but Kadapa Kurnool canal or Kurnool Kadapa canal. So this was also constructed to bring the waters to the dry regions of Rayalaseema. And what is the result, the net result of the Raituwari system after being implemented, and the government started investing huge amounts in the improvement of the irrigational facilities. Under the Raituwari system also, the land revenue was fixed very high. Of course, it is not permanent, it will be only for 20 to 30 years, but the land tax which has been fixed was very high. And it was fixed for 20 to 30 years. As a result, after the expiry of the tenure period, again they review it depending upon the prices of the crop, as well as about the conditions, the local conditions and the market conditions, and again they fix the tax. So the land revenue was so high in the beginning that it was unbearable by the rights, but soon the prices of the crops rose up. As a result of that, it felt soon the Raitwari area was also full of landlords, because the landlords started renting their lands to the tenants who were very hungry, and they were asked to pay very high rents. The tenants had to pay rent that was 3 to 7 times more than the land revenue, land tax. So for example, if a right paid 100 rupees as a land revenue for a piece of land to the government, the same right has to pay 300 to 700 rupees. It's nothing but, now you see, I own a land, I own a piece of land. I pay 100 rupees as a land revenue to the government. Apart from this, I have to pay 300 to 700 rupees as rent to the landlord, because it is not my own land. I have taken it as a rent, and I am the tenant. I have to pay the rent to the land. Either I have to pay the rent or I have to share my crop. So it was 3 to 7 times higher than the land revenue. As a result, they were not interested in improving the conditions of the land, and but only in renting it out at a higher and higher prices. If you cannot pay the rent, then immediately you are taken out, the tenancy was removed, and a new person was rented. It was rented to a new person. So this is how even the money lending also has become another duty of these jamindars or the landlords. It has led to the commercialization, and money lenders, driven by the desire to earn increase income from land, revenue officials fixed a very high revenue demand. Peasants were unable to pay these revenue and fled to the countryside. See, the countryside is nothing but the rural areas. Countryside it is called as rural areas. They fled from this countryside because they are unable to bear all these things. In search of the job, they went on to the other areas where they can find the job, especially to the towns, newly emerging towns. So thus villages have become deserted in the sense how the desert will be. You find any kind of inhabitations there. The villagers have become like a desert. You cannot find people. The villages turned out to be deserted, and optimistic officials had imagined that the new system would transform the peasants into rich enterprising farmers. But this did not happen due to the very high land revenue rates. What the officials thought that? They thought that this kind of new system will make the poor farmers very rich enterprises. But this is not actually happened, and contrary to that, they have left the land, and they have sold their land, and they migrated to the newly emerging cities and towns. Peasants very often borrowed money from money lenders in order to pay their land revenue. Money lenders are nothing but the same landlords again. They have to borrow the money from them and had to pay in the form of rent to the landlord. However, if they could not repay their loans on time, the money lenders also went to the court even to get their land auctioned and recover the loan money. Due to this, the new British rule for collecting the land revenue, many peasants fell into a deep debt trap. So, getting money from the money lenders is like getting into the web of a debt trap. Debt, you know web, it's a debt trap. So, they thought that it would be a debt trap. There was also another reason why their debts kept increasing. With an increase in the export of agricultural produce also, the agricultural prices were determined by the international market. As a reason, for example, in 1861, you see children, there was a civil war in America and British. As a result of that, the prices of the cotton rose up. It was nearly 4 annas. The civil war in USA and has ended up in 1865, and the demand for the Indian cotton also fell down. As a result of that, people who started cultivating cotton have to sell the cotton at a cheaper price than what it was expected earlier. So, which got them 12 annas. Now they started getting it only at 4 annas. You know anna? 4 anna, bar anna, a single anna. You don't know. So previously it is not rupee, it was annas. Okay. So 4 anna will make 25 paisa. Okay. Bar anna means 75 paisa. So these annas, 12 annas they used to fetch at the time of the civil war, but after the end of the civil war in 1865, when everybody started cultivating cotton, the prices of the cotton fell down and they have to sell it only at 4 annas, 4 anna. So this was not enough to pay back the loan which they have taken from the landlords. The money lenders became richer and richer because they were earning more and more grip over the peasants. And the rights of Ganjam. The Ganjam is a place which is located in Orissa. The riots of the peasants of Ganjam, they had pinned their hopes on reaping huge profits from the cotton crop, but suddenly there was a drop in the prices of the cotton. As a result of that, the rice became very scarce because everybody started cultivating cotton. So rice has become scarce. Where previously paddy was cultivated, they cultivated cotton. The scarcity of rice hit all the sections of the population. Thousands of people died of hunger, and this is famously known as the Ganjam famine. Ganjam is a place located in Orissa, children. Don't forget, the Ganjam famine is a famous famine. Famine is nothing but, what is a famine? The scarcity of food is called as a famine. Why there was a scarcity of food crop? Because all of them were cultivating cotton crop, which is a cash crop they were cultivating, and they had given up cultivation of the food crops. As a result of that, there was a scarcity of food. So many people were forced to migrate to the countries like South Africa, Fiji, Mauritius, Burma, Malaysia, and even to the Caribbean islands. And they were, as a indentured laborers, they were working them as a coolies, and there was need of work on the sugarcane and cotton plantations in their countries. So they migrated to these new areas and they started working there, and they got settled there. And today in Fiji, most of the people, majority of the people are Indian settled, and even in Mauritius, Maldives, and even in the Caribbean islands also you find the Indian origin people. So this is how we can learn about the disadvantages that has arisen because of the Raituwari system. And tomorrow we shall see about the exploitation of the Jamindars and this kind of land tenure system present under the Nizams. We will see in tomorrow's class, children. Thank you.